Welcome back to DreamLedger. Tonight, the world outside your window is quiet. The frantic machinery of the day has finally come to a halt. The endless stream of decisions, the urgent voices, the bright lights, they are all fading away into the soft velvet shadows of your room. As you lie here, feel the weight of your own body. Feel the gravity pressing you gently into your mattress. It is a comforting force. It holds you tethered to the earth. You are grounded. You are safe. Tonight, we open the largest, heaviest volume in our ledger. We are going to look back at the grand, terrifying, and beautiful history of the space age. But we are not going to look at the astronauts whose names are etched in stone. We are not going to look at the politicians or the brilliant minds who engineered the rockets. Tonight, we bear witness to the silent ones, the innocent ones, the passengers who were taken from the Earth without their consent and thrust into the infinite dark. Before we begin, take a very slow, very deep breath in, filling your lungs with the calm air of the present moment, and let it out, exhaling all the tension, all the worries of your waking life. Allow my voice to become your tether. As we travel upward into the cold vacuum of history, you will remain completely safe, drifting slowly towards sleep. Part 2. The First Breath of the Void. Long before human beings dared to strap themselves to pillars of fire, we sent proxies. We needed to know if life could even exist beyond the protective blanket of our atmosphere. In the realm of social sciences, we often study how humans use logic to distance themselves from empathy. We use our rational mind, our System 2 thinking, to build walls between our ambitions and the moral cost of those ambitions. To the scientists of the 1940s and 50s, the upper atmosphere was a terrifying question mark. And to answer it, they began with the smallest of lives. In 1947, the very first living creatures to cross the boundary of space were fruit flies. Placed inside a captured V-2 rocket left over from the Second World War, they were launched 100 kilometers into the sky. Imagine the sheer scale of it. A tiny, fragile insect, a creature of warm summer breezes and overripe fruit, trapped inside a steel leviathan, tearing through the sky at supersonic speeds. They survived. They were recovered, and their survival whispered a dangerous promise to humanity. The door is open. But fruit flies cannot tell us how it feels to be afraid. They cannot tell us what it is like to watch the world fall away. For that, science needed creatures closer to ourselves. Part 3. The Mirrors of Humanity. In the late 1940s and early 1950s, the United States turned to the primates. Monkeys and chimpanzees, creatures with hands like ours, eyes like ours, hearts that beat with the same rhythms of panic and calm. They were named Albert, Albert I, Albert II, Albert III, and Albert IV. Rhesus macaques, chosen for their biological similarity to humans. Imagine being taken from a cage, strapped into a custom-built harness, and placed into the nose cone of a rocket. The scientists placed sensors on their chests, wires monitoring the frantic, terrified racing of their hearts. The Alberts did not know they were pioneers. They only knew the claustrophobia, the terrifying noise, the smell of ozone and burning fuel. When the engines ignited, the crushing force of gravity pressed down on their small chests. They could not move. They could not cry out. They could only endure. Albert I suffocated before he ever reached space. Albert II crossed the Kármán line, becoming the first mammal in space. But as his capsule fell back to Earth, the parachute failed. The ground rushed up to meet him in the silence of the New Mexico desert. Albert III died when his rocket exploded. Albert IV died upon impact. It was a staggering, tragic toll. As humans, we have a profound cognitive dissonance when we look back at these events. We call them heroes in our history books. But heroism requires a choice. The Alberts made no choice. They were victims of our insatiable need to map the unknown. Yet, as you lie in the quiet of your room, think of the profound peace that eventually found them. After the roar of the engines, after the terrifying freefall, their panic ceased. They returned to the dust of the earth, entirely free from fear, entirely at rest. Part 4. The Companions of the Steppe. While the Americans looked to primates, the Soviet Union looked to the streets. They sought out the stray dogs of Moscow. We spoke before of Laika, the small, quiet dog who journeyed into the dark on Sputnik 2. But she was not the first, nor the last. There were Desik and Saigon, who flew to the edge of space and returned safely. There were Pcholka and Mushka, whose capsule burned up entirely upon re-entry. A brief, bright, shooting star containing two terrified souls. But Laika's story is the one that echoes the loudest in the empty halls of space. Let us slow down and look at her final hours with the solemn respect they deserve. The scientists knew she would not return. It was a one-way ticket. The technology to bring a satellite out of orbit simply did not exist yet. When Laika was locked inside the tiny pressurized cabin of Sputnik 2, she was tethered by chains to limit her movement. She had access to a gelatinous food and a system to absorb carbon dioxide. But as the rocket tore through the atmosphere, the heat shield was damaged. Once in orbit, floating in the terrifying, beautiful silence above the Earth, the temperature inside her tiny metal tomb began to rise. Her heart, which had been racing at over 200 beats per minute during launch, never truly slowed down. The stress, the heat, the utter isolation. Within a few hours, the telemetric data sent back to Earth went silent. The small spark of life inside the metal sphere had gone out. For 5 months, Sputnik 2 continued to circle the Earth, a silent, orbiting coffin carrying the remains of a stray dog from Moscow, circling the globe over 2,000 times before finally burning up in the atmosphere. When we think of Laika, we must sit with the discomfort of her tragedy. We projected our own ambitions onto her. We used her life as a stepping stone, but in her final moments, she was not an astronaut. She was simply a dog, alone in the dark, waiting for a human hand that would never come. Let her memory be a reminder to you now of the profound comfort of your own safety. You're not alone in the dark. You're resting on the solid earth. Part 5. The Forgotten Feline. The Ledger of the Stars contains many forgotten pages. In 1963, the French space program looked not to dogs nor monkeys, but to cats. From the streets of Paris, they gathered 14 strays. They subjected them to spinning centrifuges and compression chambers. One of these cats, a small black and white tuxedo cat, was selected for the final mission. Her name was Félicette. To monitor her neurological activity, the scientists surgically implanted electrodes directly into her skull. Imagine the bewilderment of this small creature. taken from the alleys of Paris, placed in a sterile laboratory, her head shaved, wires connecting her very thoughts to a machine. On October 18th, she was placed inside a Veronique rocket and launched into the sky over the Sahara Desert. For 5 minutes, Félicette experienced weightlessness. As the rocket reached its peak, the sheer terror recorded by her brainwaves suddenly flattened into a strange, detached calm. The physical sensation of floating, a feeling completely alien to the evolutionary history of a cat, overwhelmed her senses. Her capsule parachuted safely back to Earth. She was recovered alive. The scientists took their data. They took their photographs. But the tragedy of Félicette did not end in space. To fully understand the effects of the journey on her brain, 2 months later, she was euthanized so the scientists could examine her neurology. She survived the void, only to be sacrificed on the altar of data. She is the only cat to have ever gone to space. For decades, she was almost entirely forgotten. Only recently has a bronze statue been erected in her honor. Looking up at the sky, she briefly touched. Part 6. The slowest voyagers. The list goes on. Frogs, spiders, fish. Perhaps the most surreal passengers were the ones sent by the Soviets in 1968 aboard Zond 5 as a test for a manned mission to the moon. They sent a capsule out, completely around the dark side of the moon, and back to Earth. Inside this capsule were fruit flies, mealworms, wine flies, and 2 Russian steppe tortoises. Think of the tortoise, a creature of ancient, methodical slowness, a creature whose evolutionary defense is simply to pull inward and wait. These 2 slow, quiet reptiles were placed inside the fastest machine humanity had ever built. They traveled hundreds of thousands of miles, tearing through the vacuum at unimaginable speeds, swinging around the desolate, gray craters of the moon before plunging into the Indian Ocean. They survived. They lost 10% of their body weight, but they survived. It is a strange, almost dreamlike image. The oldest, slowest kind of life on Earth, charting the path for human beings to walk on another world. Part 7. The calculus of sacrifice. As you lie here, breathing slowly, listening to the rhythm of my voice, we must ask the question that hangs in the quiet air of this room. Was it worth it? How do we balance the ledger? On one side, we have the tragedy, the profound terror experienced by creatures who could not comprehend what was happening to them. The suffocations, the explosions, the lonely deaths in the cold dark. As a student of human behavior, you know how humans rationalize. We use the concept of the greater good. We say that their deaths paved the way for Yuri Gagarin, for Neil Armstrong, for the satellites that connect our world today. We say that without their unwilling sacrifice, human beings would have died instead. And from an analytical, purely logical standpoint, this is true. The data gathered from the beating hearts of the Alberts, from the panicked breaths of Laika, from the brain waves of Félicette. It built the safety systems that brought humans home. But logic does not erase sorrow. Justification does not heal the terror they felt. Perhaps the most honest way to honor them is simply to hold both truths at once. To look up at the stars and feel the awe of human achievement, but also to feel the deep, quiet ache for the innocent lives it cost. They were the true pioneers, the silent vanguard. They crossed the great ocean of night before we even knew how to build the boats. Part 8. the final descent. We close this heavy chapter of the ledger now. We leave the cold vacuum of space. We leave the laboratories and the launch pads, and we slowly bring our awareness back, down through the clouds, down through the night air, back into the room where you are resting. The history of the world is loud. It is filled with fire and ambition and sorrow. But right now, in this exact moment, none of that history can touch you. The past is a story that has already been told. The future is an ocean you do not have to cross tonight. All that exists is the softness of your pillow, the warmth of your blanket, the gentle rhythmic rising and falling of your chest. Your mind, which has followed this grand, tragic history, is now incredibly tired. The analytical parts of your brain are powering down. The need to understand, the need to judge, the need to remember. It is all dissolving into the dark. Think of those small voyagers one last time. Think of them not in their terror, but in their final, ultimate peace. They are part of the stardust now. They are completely at rest in the quiet of the universe, and you are at rest on the earth. With every breath out, let your body sink a little deeper. Feel the muscles in your face relax. Let your jaw loosen. Let your shoulders drop into the mattress. There is nothing left to hold on to. There is nothing left to carry. The night is vast, and it is holding you gently. Let the silence wash over you. Let the quiet take you in, drifting, falling. Peaceful. Sleep. Sleep. Let it all go. Good night.